Good evening. I'm Andy.
And I'm Evan.
And together
we're the Deplorable General.
Every week we bring you tactical tips and tricks, guns and gear review, some political commentary. We've talked about everything from the history of the firearm to specific firearms and calibers in general. I am myself a military veteran.
Security contractor.
So we both have experience in this sort of thing.
Yep.
I just want to give a quick heads up to anybody watching that I do have my kids in the studio today. They should be fine watching their show. However, there's a good chance that within the next half hour, one or two will probably pop on screen here. So you'll have to forgive us for that. As always, we like to usually start out giving a shout out to FN. FN gives us all kinds of cool stuff. They give us shirts, hats.
They've been with us from the first.
Yeah.
They've been with us from the get.
We don't get paid to do any of this. This is all on a volunteer basis. So
got some new literature in. Firearms News came aboard with the Deplorable General, along with Guns and Ammo. Guns and Ammo was the first literature. Second has been, and there's still more coming, guys. It just ain't got here yet, but there's still, as soon as they get here, I probably need an extra couple of hands to hold them all up. Here, Guns and Ammo, and see if you can get the other one in there.
So we get, we've said before, we get some of our content from these magazines. So we basically get a special deal on the subscription of these magazines. They send them to us for a discounted price, and then we mention them, and then we pull information and content from those magazines, and that's one of the things that we allow that allows us to come in and have new content every week to week.
I also want to give a good shout out to Moe's Golf Station here in West York. These guys have been great. They keep me on the road. And this is not something they pay me for or anything like that. I get no kickbacks. I get nothing for it. It's just that these guys have been really good to me. They're honest mechanics, and they're good people. And they have been nice enough to give me this little literature and ask me to show it on the show. And I said I'd be more than willing to, as good as they treated me. And you can get gas there to do oil changes to heavy-duty mechanic work.
And then the last shout out that I have is actually to Jefferson Firearm LLC. They are a relatively young gun shop in Jefferson, Pennsylvania, out in between York and Hanover, out in York County. Jefferson Firearms is Steve and his wife out there. Great people. Just recently met them. They're actually building a gun shop in their garage. They're in the process of building that facility right now. But they currently have their FFL. They're doing transfers. They can get you stuff right now. You can find them on Facebook. Jefferson Firearms LLC is their Facebook page. There's a silhouette of Thomas Jefferson as their picture, their Facebook picture. They are awesome. They do really inexpensive transfers. They're very knowledgeable, and they are also gunsmiths. So they are specializing. They're going to be specializing amongst other gunsmithing activities, but they're also going to be specializing in hydro dipping. So if you wanted to paint or color one of your rifles, and you didn't want to spend as much as it costs to Cerakote, but you wanted something that stuck around a little bit longer than, say, Duracoat, hydro dipping is a great option. Literally, they put a base layer on the gun, and then they have a sheet of, it's actually a pattern with paint on it. The rifle or the weapon is dipped into it and then pulled up, and then basically a clear coat put over it. So it's basically sort of like a paint, but it's a lot more durable. And it's really cool. And these guys over at Jefferson Firearms are going to be bringing that to you. And as far as I know, there's not many people in this area that does it.
No.
There's also a company out in the same exact area, actually over in, I think it's considered Seven Valleys, called War Dogs with a Z, WARDOGZ. Now, they specialize in Cerakoting. So if you want a Cerakote, again, look them up. I don't have any of their contact information for either of those company, Jefferson's Firearm or War Dogs. I will try to get both of those to you in the next couple of weeks here. But the big thing is we like to support local companies.
Exactly.
Exactly. We do life together. So Jefferson Firearms and War Dogs with a Z, WARDOGZ. Jefferson Firearms for the FFL, the hydro dipping, any gunsmithing need, and then War Dogs for Cerakoting. Definitely check them out. So tonight is going to be the first part of, I don't know, maybe a 3 or 4 part series that we're going to do. We haven't decided yet. It might even be a 10-part series once we get done it. But basically, we're thinking about what are we going to do? What are we going to bring? What content we're going to? We said, well, you know what? We have already brought the history of the firearm. Well, and we've talked about modern firearms.
And then last week we talked about intermediate calibers that were that were copied off the 41 Action Express and the 357 SIG.
Yep.
And where that went to, and then where it has left off. And then, like today, we're going to talk about caseless ammo. But
future weapons, and the series is going to be on future weapons.
Yeah.
So basically, this is just a book that I've had in my library. It's not anything special, to be honest with you, but it's neat. It's actually an older book. Popular Science put it out, 21st Century Soldier. I don't even know when it came out. Some of the stuff in there, it talked
2002.
Yeah, so it came out in 2002. So some of this stuff is ancient history, but a lot of it is actually still futuristic in nature. So as we move forward in this series, we're going to talk about futuristic weapons in combat and war. So today we're going to talk about a couple of different things. One of which being caseless ammunition and rifles that fire, or weapons that fire caseless ammo. And then the other
was polymer case, which is something new that they just started coming out with here recently. I think it's Gorilla has been working on polymer case ammo. And the beautiful thing about polymer case ammo is, especially for belt-fed saw gunners, your M249 gunners, where you're carrying tons of ammunition.
Yeah, huge weight.
And it's a lot of weight. And with the polymer case, hey, man, when you're out there, you're running 150-round belts, 200-round belts. Mm-hmm. One belt weighs, good God, a lot, a couple of pounds. Yeah. So you're talking 2, 4, 6. We're gonna say 2 pounds. We're gonna say 2.5 pounds. So you're talking 15 to 20 pounds of ammunition on a saw.
On top of the 80 pounds of ruck that you're carrying.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. So, and I think that the poly case is something that's in the more so immediate future that I think we're going to see.
Well, to get on to the caseless ammo real quick. The G38 from HK was the first successful caseless ammunition firearm to really, and it almost broke HK.
Yeah.
Coming up with that caseless ammo.
So just for the record, for people who are completely novice to any of this, I didn't realize that my green shirt is too green. Hey, just to let you guys know, this is actually the latest. Talking about future weapons, this is the latest in active camouflage.
Oh my God!
Not green. I lie. It's not green. Okay, this is the latest in active camouflage. As you see it, I blend in with my surroundings.
I just noticed that. Oh wow.
I kept looking at myself in the screen here, and I thought
yeah, he's a talking.
I don't think I wore that shirt today. And but this is active camouflage. Okay, so this is the future, people, that you'll be able to simply. And now I'm gone. I mean, it's that simple. Look at that.
You're transparent, dude.
Yep. So, hey, I didn't even realize, but that is modern.
That's hilarious.
Modern technology brought to you by
smooth X-Lax.
North Face. Okay, brought to you by North Face, the latest in active camouflage. Anyway, so the caseless ammo. So modern day rifles and weapons, all the way back into the late 1800s, shoot. There is a bullet that is held in a casing, and in the casing there is powder, and on the casing, or on the back of the casing, there's a primer. And what happens is the hammer strikes the primer, lights the powder, which then launches the projectile, which actually launches the bullet.
Well, that was done in the Varcorsi pistol.
Right. Well, I'm saying cased ammo.
Well,
that's what cased ammo is.
Yeah, case.
So that's what cased ammo is. Now, caseless ammo is any system where the bullet doesn't have a case. Okay, so it's basically an alternative means to launch the projectile, and there's all kinds of different technologies out there that allow for this. It's actually the caseless ammunition. Where's my first page here?
No, that's it. That's the first.
No. Here it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got
okay.
it.
So the actual first caseless ammunition was the Walter Hunt's rocket ball cartridge, developed in the 1850s.
Yeah.
They were sold by the Volcanic Repeating Arm.
Volcanic, yeah.
These cartridges were severely underpowered and never saw wide acceptance for self-protection, hunting, or military use. So they didn't go anywhere. But this was something that they looked at.
G11.
And I tell you what, I would like to, I'm kind of a nerd in some sense, and I like the idea of like steampunk, where these people walk around in like, Victorian era stuff with like gears, and I think that's just neat and cool. I don't walk around like that, but I think it's cool. And the idea behind steampunk is that somewhere in the industrial age, instead of going to gasoline and the combustion engine, we stuck with steam, and then the idea is then that steam then evolved the same way that the combustion engine the combustion engine evolved, and then how that would look in modern time or futuristic times. And that's the idea behind the whole like steampunk movement. I think it's kind of neat. It's a cool idea. So I like to look back at this almost in the same sense, where we back in the 1850s we had this first caseless ammunition. Well, what if that would have taken off instead of cased rounds, and we would have developed that over the past 130 years?
That would be interesting.
So
that would. But like I said, the black powder in the I guess you could say DuPont and Nobel kept that from happening.
Yeah. So there are some issues, and some of the issues are heat sensitivity, the actual making of a seal, because to have an explosion to create enough force. So I don't know if anybody's ever tried. I don't recommend it, but it's pretty much harmless if you take a bullet and throw it in a fire.
Yep.
Pretty much harmless, because in order for that bullet to actually hit somebody with enough force to cause damage, it has to have
compression.
Compression, exactly. So when you throw it in the fire, yeah, it'll pop, but
bullet won't go nowhere.
Right. So in order for the bullet to go somewhere, there has to be compression, so there has to be a seal.
Nope.
So that is one challenge in caseless ammo. And
yep.
Then the fact that they're also the actual cartridges, or the actual propulsion part of it, is also very fragile in modern.
Well, I mean, even Remington, back in the guys that are our age, mid 90s, 94,
mm-hmm.
had a caseless 700.
Yeah.
And it was chambered in 220 Swift and 223. That was caseless. And it was a bolt-action rifle. And it had a very unique electronic firing pin. It had 0 lock time.
Wow.
It was just, but It never caught on. The ammunition was, of course, very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And there again, unless you were a 700 collector, you would never have it. And it was just it was phased out to bigger and better things. Just came along. It just never really caught on because of the price of the ammo.
Yeah. So there's a couple other though. There's a rail gun, would be considered caseless.
Yeah, rail gun. That's magnetic.
Right. So a rail gun.
And that's on a battleship right now over there in Korea.
Yep. And they're making personnel-sized versions. Now again, it comes with its challenges, but the idea behind it is
they're working on personnel side. They're working on it. That ain't really.
I'm sure they have them somewhere. Now the idea though behind it is that you have your metal projectile that it basically is free floating in between a magnetic ring, and each set of rings or coils has it's magnetized and it's got an electric current that goes through it, and then in sync as the bullet goes from one electromagnet to the next, it builds up speed, and at the end it projects the round at a high rate of speed. So
very fast.
Now on the railgun that the Navy actually has, there's enough. It's the size of it, and there's enough power to really get that puppy moving.
Oh, it's moving.
So,
it's moving.
Now that's cool, and you can watch videos on YouTube of it.
Oh yeah, that and trust me, there ain't nothing that round will stop. I mean, once it goes, it's done.
Yep, it's supersonic, I think.
Tungsten core penetrator, dude.
Yeah. So on a personnel size, it would be the same exact thing. You would just have to have the proper the coils. They have them synced up properly. Have enough battery power, and then that becomes a matter of practicality. You know, if you have to recharge the battery every time, you have to have some pretty powerful batteries in order.
Well, it's on a nuclear battleship.
Well,
I mean,
exactly.
pretty much it's a destroyer, but.
Yeah, for on the one on the ship, yeah, but on a personnel level,
no, that's the kicker.
I mean, you'd have to at this point, you'd probably have to have like a battery backpack with.
Well, you know what I remember? That kind of brings up the first night vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On World War II on Guadalcanal, where they actually had to put the battery.
Right. Oh yeah.
On the Jeep,
like a car battery.
Yeah, it's like a car battery.
Yeah. Yep. So here's another thing that was cool, and I'll see if I can find a picture in here, but I had read about this. Just to let you guys know, we're going to talk about, in one series, maybe the next, or we might switch them up, but we're going to do one on drone technology. So everything from the little mosquito drones that they're driving around or flying around and, spying on people to, Terminator type.
I'm waiting for that.
We're going to go all out with it. It's going to be cool. It's going to be fun. And then 1 week we're going to talk about lasers and direct energy weapons. So get ready, folks, because this stuff is really out there. It's not just Star Wars. But anyway, this is a cool weapon that I found. It's called the O'Dwyer VLE. It's the world's first entirely electronic handgun. The O'Dwyer VLE pistol is named after its inventor, Mike O'Dwyer, the president and chief executive officer of the Australian ballistics technology company Metalstorm, which is a freaking cool name, which produced the VLE.
Yes, the VLE.
So O'Dwyer assumed his post Metalstorm in 1994, and he's been working on the company's electronic ballistics technology since the early 80s. He continues to refine its invention for an increasingly wide array of applications and has introduced it to the defense departments of Australia, the United States, the United Kingdom. The VLE, which stands for Variable Lethality Law Enforcement, can fire a 3-shot burst in 1/500th of a second, which works out to 60,000 rounds per minute, which is fast.
Whoa.
The VLE prototype has no conventional magazine. The bullets are stacked in line in the barrel, ready to fire, with the pistol grip containing 3 sets of electronics. Mr. O'Dwyer said, one set controls the firing operation of the weapon, another provides audio and visual confirmation of weapon settings, and a third manages and limits access to the weapon. With no moving parts, save bullets, the O'Dwyer is an excellent example of science fiction transformed into science fact. So this thing's kind of cool. Now, this is a picture of it here. We can see if we can zoom in. But his idea is that this thing was being made or produced with law enforcement in mind more than anything. And
I would have killed for that on a couple of jobs I had.
And the cool thing is that it's almost like what was it? Demolition Man, I think, where they had the weapons that you could set to different settings, and they had, so with this supposedly you can add. There's a lethal round. There are beanbag rounds, there are rubber rounds, and there are even like stun gun rounds that they talked about making for this thing, and it's just really cool, Like it doesn't seem like when I did some research into this VLE, there wasn't a whole lot. It didn't go very far, and I don't know that they're still working on it. I mean, it seems to me like it's kind of dead.
Well,
in the water,
actually, they. Like I said, there was a couple of jobs that I was on that actually got put out. They only had a couple of them, and they put them on a perimeter security where we didn't have to worry about it. And thank God nothing walked around in its path, or it would have went off. But it was a very interesting system. At least get to see set up.
Mm-hmm. Also, the Future Warrior system's 4-barreled firearm, and it's capable of firing 15 millimeter heat-seeking mini rockets, as well as 4.6 meter bullets for close range combat. So again, these mini rockets are technically caseless ammo. It's basically a jet propulsion system inside of a bullet. That actually,
that's not the first time that's been done.
No, it's not. The problem with it is is having enough fuel for it to go longer distances. Is what they talk about here.
Well, they had to get a solid fuel. That's the kicker.
Right.
They had to work with some kind of solid fuel for that to work. Well, I forgot the guy's name, but they made that firearm back in the 60s, late 50s, early 60s. And it was a rock-repelled round. They actually used it in a movie. I forgot the name of it. Good Lord. But yeah, the guy...
this is the Future Weapons Systems weapons pod, okay? And this is the one we're talking about with the rocket. And I think that... And if you see the guy holding it there, he's holding what they turned it into that, but it started as a wrist-mounted, weapons pod. And talk about futuristic. That's like the stuff of sci-fi movie, man.
That's like the Predator.
Exactly.
That's like a Predator's armor.
I mean, that is really stinking cool. I think I would love to have, especially as like a backup or something at least, to be able to have something mounted to your wrist like that you can just point your wrist and shoot, and it takes away having to really aim it too. I mean, where your arm is pointing, and so.
I mean, Shorefire came out with a light like that too on a watch.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yep. So that's a cool futuristic, and like I said, that's a caseless. Because it's rocket propelled, it's caseless. It doesn't have a case that it uses to project.
That's gonna drive me nuts because I forgot about that. That was Ian from Forgotten Weapons did a nice video on that, carbine and pistol.
Yeah, that's really cool. So we're down to a couple minutes here, and I think that's about as far as we can stretch the caseless thing. But like I said, so in the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about drone technology, and we're going to talk. I've got some really cool stuff on drones, on the different aerial drones that they're using. Just to give you a sneak peek. Again, keep in mind that this book was published in 2002. Okay, so we're quite a number of years. Let's see if we can get zoomed in on that.
16 years ago, dude.
So
16 years ago.
I mean, that's what they had 16 years ago, okay?
I like what the Israelis did with their electronic surveillance tank. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
you could sit, guys. That looks like a piece of pipe, PVC pipe, and you can fling it in through a window, and it'll extend itself and put the track on it. It'll put the track on it. You can actually climb stairs with it.
That's crazy.
I mean, in other words, you can have one operator covering a door, and you got a broken window, whatever. You can throw that little doodad through that broken glass, and it'll climb stairs.
Yeah. Well, and that's some of this drone technology, and real quick, one of the things that really made me take a look at this stuff here. We got a minute here. Unrestricted warfare. Everybody who's interested in being a tactician needs to read this, okay?
That's got some good articles in it, guys.
This book is China's Master Plan to Destroy America. Okay, this book was published in '99 originally, and it talks about China basically orchestrating 9/11. Crazy, not conspiracy theory. It's written by a Chinese colonel.
Colonel.
So it's not conspiracy theory stuff, people. It is the real deal when it comes down to stuff that's written by the Chinese military.
Just think about that, guys. In '99, this was written. 2001, we had that exact thing happen.
Yep. So this talks about warfare and how warfare is not necessarily just fought on the battlefield anymore between people. So we are
out of time.
We're out of time. So I'm Andy.
I'm Evan, the Deplorable General, over and out.